All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We'll give everyone just a few more minutes as we're getting started.
Hi, Dennis. Hi, Jed.
Nikki, did you ever have that one teacher who would lock the door right on time, make you wait out the window? I always, we'll give people a few minutes.
Yeah, this is not college. This is
No.
supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
This is, and it's free. We're not paying for it.
Right, even better.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Hi, Duncan. I'm seeing so many familiar names. Wow. Hi, everybody.
Wow.
Where is everybody coming from? City, state, country?
Canada, Germany, India. Oh, whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic. Brazil, all right. Spain.
Brooklyn to Burbank. Oh, Staatsburg, there's my mom. Hi, Mom.
Fantastic.
Upstate New York is where I'm originally from.
Yeah, how long have you been in LA now?
We've been here for about 2 years.
Okay.
I went to school in Baltimore, Maryland, where I met my husband. We were there for about 5 years. Then we moved up to New York. We were in Brooklyn for a year, Astoria for about 4 or 5 years, and Queens. We were moved up to Connecticut for 2 years, and then over to Portland, Oregon. We were there for almost 6 years, and now we're down in LA. And hopefully we're done moving as much, but you never know. We like change.
No kidding. Well, good. Hopefully you're all settled in now.
Yeah.
All right.
If we can ever buy a house, we'll stay.
Okay. Right. All right. Well, it looks like everyone's kind of settled in. Maybe we just give it one more minute and we'll go ahead and get started.
Sounds good.
Nikki, how's the weather in LA today?
You know, it's been really hot for the last couple of weeks, but this week it's kind of cooled off a little bit. So, you know, masks in tow, we can actually take our pup out when work is done. We've been trying to go find areas where there aren't many people and actually get out and take a walk and enjoy upper 70s, lower 80s, which is cool for us. So
Good. Okay. Good.
you know, it's probably raining where you are in Portland, right?
You know, we had like, I spoke too soon. We had like 10 minutes of sun here.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it comes back. All right. All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We're here with Nikki Monteleone. We are really excited about the content that she's going to be sharing with us. If we go ahead and jump to the next slide, we'll just do a little bit of the housekeeping. My name is Andrew Erpelding. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Wacom. You're also joined by some people from the Wacom community team. We have Tom Feston, and we're really excited to be hosting this webinar and want to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things you can do with our product, along with the partnerships with Substance. Wacom has more than 35 years of digital pen technology, and we'd love to be able to share some of that expertise with all of you. Let's go ahead and jump to the next one. Perfect. So this is going to be an hour-long session, and at the end, we'll try to save it for 10 minutes. If you do have questions within Zoom, there's a Q&A feature. So if you have a question, enter it. We'll kind of get to it as best we can. Please keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of content. We'll try to get to all the questions, but there might be, it might have to save it for the end. If we don't get to it, we apologize, and we'll provide contact information in case you need to get a hold of us separately. So like I mentioned today, we're just so excited to present this webinar with Nikki. Nikki will walk you through some very exciting Substance Painter content while working on a Cintiq 22 and is equipped with an MSI laptop, which is powered by NVIDIA's RTX 2070. Nikki is currently the lead look development artist at Nickelodeon Animation Studio. She's previously worked with clients like Leica, DreamWorks, Adidas, Nike, M&M's, to name a few. Like you mentioned, Nikki, she's currently in LA. On your bio, you've got that you're a parent to a crazy Boston Terrier. Yes. And a big cheese foodie. So maybe if we have time, we could jump into that.
Huge.
Fantastic. All right, Nikki, with that, it's all yours.
Great. So yeah, let me do screen share. This going? Cool. So like Andrew said, I am currently a lead look development artist at Nickelodeon Animation Studio. Thank you so much for having me. Both Andrew and Dennis, you guys have been really fantastic. I am very excited to be here and share my creative process with you all. So here's just a quick rundown of the things that I'm going to be talking about. A little bit of hardware, what I'm using, talk a little bit about computer optimization. We're using some really heavy GPU renders, and also Substance is a huge GPU program, so you really want the computer to work for you. The importance of reference, both real world and any inspiration that you might find, UVs, and my favorite words, textile density. And then we're going to open up Substance Painter, and I'm going to go through a few baking tips, a few brushes, a couple of processes, and procedurals. So what I'm going to go over is a recent collaboration I did with the very talented modeler and illustration artist, Kent Flores, who also happens to be my husband. We wanted to push ourselves to come up with a project that we could do together. And we came across the Anabu Geisha. They were a female warrior who fought alongside the samurai in Japan. We thought it was a really cool idea, so we started with the helmet. Eventually, we'll probably add the female warrior in there at some point, but for now, the helmet is done. So to jump into hardware, here is my current setup for this webinar. I received a brand new MSI P65 Creator laptop. It's equipped with a Core i9 processor, and my favorite part, as Andrew was saying, it has an RTX 2070. And why is that my favorite part? It is because NVIDIA has been working really closely with the team at Substance to incorporate a few new features that really take advantage of the RTX graphics cards within Substance programs. So if you're looking for an excuse to upgrade, I would definitely recommend anything with an RTX card in it. And then just a side note, I've been throwing Substance Painter and Maya, Arnold, Redshift, ZBrush, everything that I use at this laptop, and it's been handling it pretty well. I've gone through a couple of RTX cards in my life over the past couple of years, and this is handling really great. I haven't owned an operating laptop since like 2008 or 2009. Went straight to a tower when I got into this industry. I am utterly impressed by this laptop. You're in the market for a laptop, and I'm not just saying that because of the webinar. I really have been pushing this thing to its limits, and I've been doing everything that I can on my tower, minus a couple of GPU rendering things. So another quick note while we're talking about hardware, Wacom sent over this Pro Pen 3D. You'll see that third button there. It's, you know, it took a little getting used to, but once my muscle memory adjusted, I mean, I've been working with this particular pen, with the 2-button pen, for like a decade. So once my muscle memory adjusted and I got over it, I've really been able to figure out how to use that third button and make it work for me. And the process that I've kind of been doing a lot of lately in Substance Painter is going so much faster. I'll get into that a little bit later. So done with this. I next want to talk about performance, my computer, optimizing my computer so that when I am inside Substance Painter, the computer is working for me. On this MSI laptop, there's something called Creator Center. There's a couple of different tabs that you can go through here. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I want to focus on the System Tuner. There's 4 different buttons up here that you can go through, and these are really all just based on performance. I'm going to leave it on high performance when I go into Substance Painter, so that that really like it kicks the fans up and makes them work the way that they should. The next thing that I want to talk about is MSI Afterburner. I use this all the time to keep track of how cool my GPU is. So we're sitting at 59 Celsius right now. I like to kind of keep it around 50. I don't want to really go over like maybe 75 or 80. I think I've gotten up to. Around there, your GPU might crash. So there's this little button up here, and I've actually got it on my second screen. Let me bring it over. I have it unbalanced right now. If I kick it up to high performance, this number should start to go down a little bit. And this will just kind of hover wherever I want it. Highly recommended. MSI Afterburner is also free, the best part. Okay, great. So we've got.
Hey, Nikki, can I ask you a quick question? There's a
totally.
couple questions about your workflow. Are you using ACES as part of your workflow?
No, I am not. Regular old Maya color management.
Right.
I'm not really allowed to speak to anything that I maybe have been doing professionally, but currently my personal workflow is just regular old Maya color management. I know Substance has been working really hard to get that sort of stuff in the program. I know Substance Designer, they just did an update where they've got that color management in there. Hopefully it's coming to Painter soon if it's not there already. Don't quote me on that, but I don't believe it is.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. So let's see, the next thing that is super important before you get started is reference. This is PureRef. You've probably heard of it already. Oh, sorry, my fans are really loud. I'm gonna put this back down to balance just until I get to Painter. So this is PureRef. You've probably heard of it already. It's just this big blank canvas where you can drag and drop anything that you want. So between me and Kent, we scoured the internet and found the perfect reference to follow while I was working on this. So, you know, this has so much color variation just in the gold. I thought that was really pretty to try and follow. I have this guy for like the spec quality of the leather. I didn't want to get too shiny. I didn't want to get too matte. Like, how cool is this older thread? Like, this is a very well-kept helmet, but you could also tell that it's also very old and has seen a battle or two. The color on this was beautiful. So just having something open like this while you're working is definitely going to be helpful. Okay. Close that. And while we're on reference, I do also want to bring up Substance Source. This is a great website that comes with your Indie license of Substance. You can go and actually download these and use them inside of Painter. If you don't currently have a Painter license, I also love using this website. Like, I'll throw this to my art director or to one of my artists, or basically to anybody who's trying to achieve a certain look, and say, hey, what kind of copper are you looking for? There's all these different types. There's old, there's stylized. Like, let's just come in here and pick out your top 3 for me and give those over to me. And I absolutely love sending this site, and I know a lot of designers love this site too, just for their shader balls. So it's a really great it's a really great resource. Okay, we've got an idea. We have the computer working for us. We have our reference. Now, time to open up Maya and check out some UV stuff. So here's the model inside of Maya. Really, really amazing topology. My husband did such a great job. I think he spent like an entire week trying to figure this knot out. Okay, cool. So while we're in here, I need to get the most out of Substance Painter. I only want to do the technical bits once. So my #1 desire is textile density. What the heck is textile density? Got 2 little cubes here for you to show you a quick little demo of what I mean. I hit 6 to show. So I've got just a regular old grid on here to show you that the textile density is exactly the same on these 2 cubes. Go ahead and open up my UV editor. You can see that both of these shells are exactly the same. Say you get 2 different shells from the modeling team, and they're both supposed to be the same exact plaid on a shirt, or they're supposed to be stripes on a shirt. If this is a little bit off, this shell, when I go to add that stripe onto that fabric, this one's going to be huge and this one's going to be small. So this is a really quick fix. All I want to do is select the one that I'm happy with, open up your UV editor and the UV toolkit, scroll down to transform, all the way to the bottom, and hit get. This number 128 is the textile density of this geo. You want to come over here, got this selected, this shell, and hit set. And so now these are exactly the same textile density again. And as a bonus, you want to go ahead and lay those out inside of one UDIM so that when I bring this into Substance Painter, this becomes my stripe or my plaid texture set. Great. So that's really the only thing that I wanted to talk about in Maya right now. And let's see, let's open up Substance Painter, finally. I love this new splash screen. This is so crazy looking. We're really starting to get, people are starting to get really crazy with this program. Yeah.
Well, that's loading. There's a question here about textile density from the biggest UV shell in the scene. How do you determine which UV shell you would get from the textile density?
How do I determine which one is correct? Is that what they're asking?
I think it's going to be which one is correct based on the density format. But maybe if
I think I understand the question, and I want to render this thing out eventually at 4K. So if I've got, let me just hide these or isolate these again. If I go ahead and say from here to here is 4K. Oops. F. I need at least 2K on just this shell. So select this face And I need this face to take up half of this shell. If I really want to get the proper resolution out of that shell. So I would probably break this UV space up a little bit more and maybe put, you know, one shell here. It would probably just be this entire space. And then I would take that. I would probably copy those UVs, transfer those UVs over to here, and then come in and just move it over. Oh, I don't have that on one. Just move that over to the next set. So then you've got 2 texture sets, and those will both be at 4K. So that half of your square would be 2K, the other half would be 2K, and you have 4K going across. That should be enough resolution. That's probably going a little crazy, but I definitely went a little crazy because I knew I wanted to do 4K. So here are the UVs of the actual helmet. All these UVs down at the bottom are only the leather. This second row is all thread. I mean, Kent went crazy with this UV layout, making sure that everything was the same.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything here has exactly the same textile density. I was like drooling when he gave me this. I'm like, oh, this is like a texture artist's dream. Look at this textile density. He got a really special dinner that night.
That's great. Well done, Kent.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So if there are no more textile density questions, I mean, definitely people can feel free to hit me up on Twitter. You can feel free to hit me up on Instagram. I'm very active there. I try to answer everybody, but I am also very busy from 9 to 6 or sometimes after 6. So cool. All right, so now we are in Substance Painter. And from Maya, we just exported out just all at low res, nothing was smoothed. Just as an OBJ. If you want to go ahead and take things like the camera with you, or if you want to take, there's like a way where you have to name your geo a certain way, like all of that stuff would live inside of an FBX. I just exported out an OBJ for now. Okay, great. So helmet low. We'll leave this on PBR metallic roughness. This is the workflow that I usually use for Arnold, for Redshift, for V-Ray Next. If you're using anything below V-Ray Next, I believe that would be more of like PBR spec glossy workflow. I'm going to leave my document resolution on 1024. We can always make that larger later. Normal format. I think this is probably, if you're getting into like real-time stuff or you're in the games industry, this might be a little bit more important to you. But for me, I know OpenGL works with Arnold, Redshift, V-Ray Next. It's literally just either your normals are pointing up or your normals are pointing down. So OpenGL works for that. I do not have cameras. I do not want Substance Painter to auto unwrap my UVs for me. I have UVs already, so these are unclicked. And since I do have 22 texture sets, I do want to use the Udemy tile workflow. So I have this checked on and hit OK. That'll just load for just a couple seconds. Cool, so there it is. And before you do anything, you're gonna wanna bake your mesh maps. So you can get to your mesh maps from either the texture set settings menu over here, or you can go up to edit, bake mesh maps, or Control-Shift-B. I'm gonna hover over here so that we can see what we're doing. Quick note, the size up here has nothing to do with your actual bake settings. This is just for viewport. So while I'm here, I want to show you really quick that we don't actually need to bake the normals. If you do not have a high-res mesh, the normals comes for free, and I'll show you what I mean. Underneath drop box, you can see material, you can see a single channel, and then you can see all your mesh maps. So if you click your normal, height, and mesh, you can see that there's already a normal map in here. So we do not need to bake this. Great, so unclick that. World space normal I need. I do not have an ID map, so I'm gonna also unclick that. Ambient occlusion. If I were to say this was gonna be animated and this knot has to fall apart and it was 2 different pieces of geo, if I wanted to pull that down, I don't want contact AO on that. So I'd come in and say under the self occlusion, I'd switch this to only same mesh name. Now I know that this is not gonna be animated and I don't mind contact AO right there. So I'm gonna leave it on always. If you change anything in these dialog settings, don't forget to hit apply to all because we are only on texture set 101 right now over here. And there are 22 of them that you need to be sure that these settings are being applied to. For time's sake, I'm going to keep this on 64. I might put it up to something like 200 now that this stuff goes really fast with the new RTX technology. But for time's sake, again, I'll leave it on 64. I probably come also to thickness and put this guy on 200. And again, in thickness, you're going to want to drop this down if you're animating it and do only same mesh name so that you don't have any contact AO. Great, so we are ready. Let me go ahead and hit bake all texture sets. And this is going so fast. Don't forget I'm on a laptop. It's an RTX 2070 in it. And I can't believe we're already a quarter of the way through. I think maybe this time last year, right before SIGGRAPH, right before they dropped the latest painter, this probably would have taken about 20 minutes.
Wow.
Maybe if you're lucky. It was a good coffee break. So
So less coffee now is what you're saying.
yeah, less coffee.
All right,
Less
all right.
coffee. And you know what? I forgot one very important thing, my output size. I'm not gonna do this again, but I would come here and do 2048. We could just see how fast it's going just for a little bit. And if it goes fast, I can leave it going. Yeah, it's still going so fast. That's crazy. While that's baking, I do just want to point you guys to a couple of tips and tricks inside of Substance Painter with the ProPen 3D. And I think, Andrew, you're probably going to stick that in the chat, hopefully. I've got a couple of different things here. I figured out how to map some MyML and Python also to that third button, which has been really awesome. Like I put a combination of, I think, center pivot, freeze transformations, and delete history all on this third button while I'm modeling. It's saved me so much time. And then I've also got another quick tip under the Substance Painter settings where I've set it to rotate my lights around while I'm doing a little bit of look dev. And then I've also set it to the P key, which is the eyedropper key. I'm right-handed, so my left hand is gonna kind of hover on the left-hand side of my keyboard. Having to keep moving it over to the P key was getting very annoying for the eyedropper. So I set that third button to be the P key, and it has, I don't know, it saved my sanity. I love it.
Awesome, thanks, Nikki.
Yes, cool. So that is almost done. I'm not gonna actually be painting in this program. Go ahead and hit cancel. M to see the material. And you can see now that most of these are actually baked. If I hit Alt Q, you can see one texture set, it isolates it. And if I hit C, that will cycle through all my channels. I haven't actually added anything yet, so these are blank. But if you hit B, you can go ahead and see your baked mesh map. So here's my ambient occlusion, my curvature, my position, my thickness, and normal. So before I leave out of here, I do just want to show you one quick high-res bake. So Kent actually went in and sculpted some floral detail on this crest. And I want to get that floral detail from ZBrush into this mesh and get a really great normal map out of it. So I am going to leave normal on this time around. And I'm going to unclick world space. You'll see that it doesn't actually have this icon here. So it's not going to really grab anything from the high res. And either is the position. So I don't need to rebake those. Come back to common, 2048, navigate to my high res, which is literally just this piece of geo, this crest shape that's right here that I have sitting on my desktop. And also for time's sake, I'd probably come down and put the aliasing on like 4x4, or if I'm feeling real fancy that day, I might do sampling at 8x8, but this is definitely way more than enough information for this. So that. And how cool is this interactive bake? This is also pretty new in the last year. I love seeing it actually work. So it's looking a little aliased. Remember I did say the size over here is your viewport size. So drop this to 4096 so we can actually see it. Awesome. There are still a little bit of like noise in here. That's probably because I didn't put the AO up all the way to 200, or I could have baked this maybe at 4K. Definitely play around with that stuff. You do not need to do 4K for everything. Just the stuff that you've got really small details on. Cool, so that's baked. And go ahead and actually open up the project to show you some fun, fresh stuff and some procedurals, some alphas. Yeah, the fun bits. We've got a computer working for us. We've optimized everything. We have really great textile density on everything. It's all ready to paint. We've baked out our layers. And actually, while I'm on the topic of baking, before I get into this, Andrew, if you could go ahead and put this link in the chat room. This is from the rookies. They did a quick write-up on how to optimize your Substance Painter project. And this is talking about exporting out those mesh maps that we just baked and then re-importing them into a brand new project and then continuing to start. And you're like, well,
Okay,
why would I? Yeah. So why would you go ahead and do that? All of those maps that we just baked are going to live in the cache of that file, making the file huge. If you export those maps out and then bring them back in, your file is going to be so much smaller. And I just want to show you what I mean. I have a test here. So this is my test mesh bake file. That's sitting at 3.4 gigs. And we haven't even started painting yet. So I exported the mesh maps out, I brought them back in, and now my file is only 935 megs. Now, imagine you're on iteration 10. That is what, over 30 gigs of files sitting on your desktop that you probably don't want there while you're still working. So cool. I really encourage you guys to read that. It's a great detail. It's very artist friendly. Get that going so that you can actually get to the painting stuff and be able to move around in your scene. All right, so here is the helmet in its finished glory. First, I want to talk a little bit about this leather. So if I do Control, Alt, and right click, you'll notice here that I went from my first texture set down to 1004, which is the one that I just did. So Control Alt right click. I'm going to go ahead and do, if you're on a Mac, I believe it's Alt Q, Option Q. I'm on a Mac keyboard on a PC, so sorry, I might get this a little bit wrong. I love my Mac keyboard. I will never get rid of it. So that, and then Alt Q isolate selects your texture set. Okay, cool. So this leather, I actually did in Substance Alchemist. I'm going to show you a quick screen cap. I went online and found the perfect leather, an image. It was just a JPEG that I found. I brought it into Substance Alchemist, and it will create a bunch of channels for you. So you're able to manipulate the height of it, the displacement of it. You're able to manipulate the spec, there's filters for wearing it and adding dirt. There's a filter to take light out. Say, you take a photo of it and you're outside and the sun is shining and there's this really hot spot. It does its best to de-light that JPEG for you, TIFF, PNG, whatever you want to bring in. So at the end of the day, this is where I ended up. I also used a filter called Make It Tile, which I feel like is magic. If your JPEG does not repeat, it will try its best to just meld the seams for you. I love that button. Highly recommended to check out Substance Alchemist. It does come with your Indie subscription. So you should, if you're using Substance Painter, you should also be downloading this and have access to it. Great. So I exported out that leather and I brought it in to Substance Painter. You'll see it here down at the bottom. Just close these so you can actually see it. So here's Anna from Alchemist. Turn all this stuff off so you can see. Now I saved this project with all my texture sets sitting at 1024 so that it would open up really quickly. Another tip that I would suggest. So here's the here it is, and I'm going to drop this to 4096 so we can actually see what it's going to look like when it renders. And still crazy. I cannot believe how fast this is loading. And while that is loading, I want to kind of show you, I'm hovering at about 68, 65 to 70. Go ahead and put this guy on high performance. I don't know if you can hear my fans, but I can. They're really kicking into gear, and hopefully now the GPU will start to cool so that it does not crash and I'm able to continue to work. So great, that's actually on the decline, down to 59 now, so I like that. I'm back hovering around where I think it's safe. Great, so I took this in, yep, like I said, from Alchemist. And I didn't like how light it was, so I just came here and I added an HSL filter. I took the lightness down a little, I messed with the hue, I added a little bit of a levels adjustment. And then when I was happy with it, every single piece that's leather here, I went ahead and if you right click, instantiate across texture sets, this will actually link this group to all of the things that I've got labeled leather here. So if I did none, and I want them leather, 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 not this one. And then I would go ahead and hit OK. This would get applied to everything that I've got leather. So again, Control, Alt, right click. Here is that Anna from Alchemist instance. So I'm working on this leather and I kind of want to change the color. I don't like it anymore. It goes ahead and changes all of those layers for you, which I think is so great. It's also really good to optimize this kind of thing. Like you don't want to copy paste this to all the layers. It'll make your file big. You won't be able to work in it. It's a really clean workflow. So I'm going to go back because I like the brown leather better. I'm going to turn a couple of these things on. Damages. let's see, less rough wear. So that's just a little bit of breakup in the spec. You hit Option or Alt and you click on your mask, it'll actually show you what that mask is doing for you. And without clicking on anything else, if I come back and just click on this layer, it'll go back to the view that you had beforehand. Here is the koi. I used a alpha that Kent actually provided for me. So let's see, delete this clear mask. Just to show you really quick, come up here to my paint through, projection tool, drag this in here. Now this alpha is inverted. It's very easy to put it back to the way it needs to be. And I'll show you that in 2 seconds. Turn my mirror on so that what I do on this side is going to be done on this side. If I hit tab, it's kind of going into expert mode so I can see everything. S and right click will make this guy scale, and then S and click will actually rotate it. I'm going to try and line this guy up. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of go crazy because I know I can easily clean this up later. Great, so that's there. Go back to 1 to paint, tab to get everything back to where it was. Like I said, this is inverted. All you need to do, right click, invert mask, come to my polygon fill tool by UV and just drag. I don't want it on these UV shells. I only want it on this one, so it's super easy just to get rid of. And that is how I added the koi fish there. I think that got a little bit of the height inverted so that it looks like it's kind of carved out of there a little. Cool, so moving on, let's head to the worn leather that I painted. Bring back all my texture sets to show you this. So usually I'll try and give myself a little bit of a heads up, like, hey, you use the worn art heel brush or whatever. So I know that it's this brush, this artistic heavy sponge. Oh, I must have been using a different brush. Anyway, it's this brush, artistic heavy sponge. I would go ahead and label this so that I know exactly what I did. Go back to the paint key. That's 1 on the keyboard. And bracket, left bracket, right bracket, just like in Photoshop, makes this bigger or smaller. Go ahead, this big black ball here, this is the color that I'm painting with. So just like in Photoshop, if you hit X, it will go from black to white, the invert of what you've got selected. So, maybe I want a little bit more wear around this bolt that's here. It's maybe a little soft, but I want to introduce some harder edges. So I don't want, this little icon is my pen pressure, if you hover over it. So this should actually be, I'm going to hit X. Paint a little bit back in. Put back on. X, and a little bit of it back in. So now I've got a little bit more wear coming from here. This is the battle where she won. So she just, there's this tiny little wear here. So great. So that's kind of how I went in and did all the wear on all these edges. just a little bit of hand painting all the way around on top of the procedural base that I made. And add the cotton back to these outsides. I think this is just something that I pulled off of Substance Source and put in there. And it was just a little bit too clean. So then I added some cloth dirt on top of it. Well kept, but has been through a battle or two. Those were my guidelines. Cool, so I'm done talking about the leather. The last thing I want to chat about is the gold. Let that load a little. While that's loading, I did open up a sample project. So if you go under File, Open Sample, there's a Meat Mat project in there. It's a white canvas, blank space for you to work on and, you know, make maybe some smart materials for yourself that you can go ahead and add later to whatever project you're working on. So this is actually the procedural worn gold that I made for the base of the gold that you see on the helmet. This is for sale on my ArtStation store. It's only $1 if you want to dig through it. There's a lot of triplaners in there, 100% procedural. There's no hand painting, so you should just be able to drag and drop on whatever project you've got, and it should look exactly like this. I will 90% promise you that. Cool. Great, so again, I'm going to isolate this so we can focus. And it is on 1024, so I'm going to knock the viewport up to 4096 so we can see exactly how it's going to look when we're rendering. Bring this guy back over just so you can see I'm sitting around 5860 still, which is still just blowing my mind for a laptop. I am still sitting on high performance, so my fans are going really crazy. I've got 2 different monitors plugged into it. I've got a separate keyboard. I can't believe how much I'm doing on this. And again, I'm not saying this because it's the webinar and it's for MSI and Wacom. Like, I'm floored by this laptop. All right, cool. So we have this gold open. And I did the same thing for this gold. I instantiated. Did I instantiate? Well, I should have instantiated the base to this gold. Oh, I did. Actually, it's sitting in this one that I've got hidden down here, and that's why I didn't delete it. So I can just delete the rest of this. So this is a gold that I made for a Genie project that I did a while ago. I just happen to have it. I really love the way that it looked. So I dragged and dropped it into this project and had a base going for some stuff. Great. So I wasn't using this one. Turn it off. Turn these off and quickly go through some of these. I think we have about a minute left. So this is the Gold Pure base. I think that comes with vanilla substance, Gold Pure. Just drag that on there. Probably adjusted the color a little bit. Added a little bit of overlay with a tiny bit of a darker color in the AO. I just used the AO map as a mask for that. Here's the curvature. And again, Alt or Option and click just to show you what the mask looks like. Here's that curvature mask. I blurred it out a lot just so that it was really not so CG on the edges. Grunge Sharpie Big Shape. That's definitely the brush that I used for this. Probably painted out maybe some of these more like CG lines. Some curvature dirt. Some small even dirt. Let's see that in there. There's like some bigger pock marks that I put a very vibrant red in just to give it a little color variation. and brighten it up with a little, I think this is just noise. Yep. Probably just a tri-planar noise that I stuck in there to add a little bit of a highlight. Now on these insets, I really wanted them to look like they had kind of been like carved out or welded out, however the process is. I'm not sure. I know what I wanted it to look like though. So here's the inset. And that is really saturated purple on overlay. Again, to give it a little bit of color variation, because gold isn't just yellow. Oh, so pretty. A little bit of scratches. Very, very, very small scratch detail. Some sharp, what is this? Sharp overall noise. So to give it more of that like really worn feeling, this is breaking up the spec a lot. Shift right click and make the lights rotate around it so you can really see what that spec is doing and how it plays with the light. A little bit more of dirt in the layout. Got some huge cuts in here. She won the battle, but this was a close one, but her helmet protected her, so.
Nice.
And I use the Basmati brush, which is this. This is like my favorite thing to do on gold. Let's see, it's this guy. I went into the edges and kind of roughed them up. And I want to take the pen pressure off for this. And probably make it pretty small and on black, so it's going to do nothing until I turn it to white. Next. I went in and kind of like hand painted around in the edges. And the real magic happens when I hit X and I go to black and I start wearing it away some. It just kind of feels like this like awesome old metal gold pounded look. So I came in and just hit the edges with that. Maybe I made it a little bit too heavy. And then X wear some of it back in. And so I went in here and really did it too. Wear it back in. So after that was done, a little bit of a hand painting. You see I went like really crazy on the horns. That's like full on that brush. And top details. And just a little bit of a flourish up there that I hand painted in, even though you're probably never going to see the top, just in case I added a little bit of something there. Cool, so I am pretty much done. If there are any questions about anything.
Awesome, Nikki. We got a few. Nikki, that looks incredible. And thank you for all the details. That looks amazing. So we do have a few questions. I'll try to go through some of these questions. Guys, we got a lot here, so I might not get to all of them. One of the questions is, what is your research process? What are your recommendations that you may have when refining your research to find high quality reference information and pictures, especially when just Googling is often insufficient?
All right, so I have, let's see, just head to Google. I have a little a Chrome extension. So let's just say helmet, images, tools. You want to be sure this is on large. I don't even look at it if it's not large.
Mm.
They keep getting rid of this and I keep putting it back. But if you just Google view image from Chrome, this will pop back. So you can actually come in here, grab it, and let me open up my Pura. Just drag this in.
Oh, okay.
So this is a different type of helmet. I would probably start a new box up here. Here's Here's a couple of inspirational photos that I'm sure we pulled off ArtStation. ArtStation is really great. I just go in and type like stylized in, or I think it's really fun just to type like red or, you know, girl and see what comes up, like something really broad. I usually get inspiration by doing that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So here, ArtStation, definitely also Instagram. If you need to find a samurai helmet, type in the hashtag samurai helmet on Instagram, and there are a plethora of images out there. I also have an additional Instagram account called I Love Texture. I know that's also my Twitter handle, but my additional Instagram account is literally just me out in the world taking pictures of rust and grunge and really anything that I can find. This was like on the side of a dumpster. It was so beautiful. Oh, I guess I have to log in to look at it.
Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, just going outside and making sure you've always got a camera on you for this type of stuff if you can't find it online. I've used my iPhone for so many different personal projects. It's been kind of crazy. So
very cool.
Yeah,
No, that's great.
always,
That actually
always
lends
have it.
itself. We got a couple more images. Excuse me, images. A few more questions about
Yeah.
file size. One of them is, thanks, Nikki. Great tip about keeping the file size small. But what if you have tens of UDIM maps that you have to import all into another substance file? Is there any way to save time by dragging and dropping the AOVs onto all the UDIMs all at once, or do you have to do each and every one by one?
If you have, sorry, say that one more time. If I have, do they mean the mesh maps?
That
AOV,
must be it.
AOVs I would get out of a render like the specular or the glossy pass. I don't know of a way, like I think I understand. So if you had this texture already, you wanted to import it in. So you go and you say, you find your textures, you import it in, and you want to actually add it to a shader here. The only way that I know of is coming in and adding them one by one. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, Substance is working on UDIM, painting across UDIM's workflow. So I've got 22 texture sets here, but I probably only have like 3 or 4 shaders. So the process that I'm doing here, I would only have 3 or 4 materials listed maybe for this, instead of like this insane amount of like texture sets. Mm-hmm. So hopefully in the near future, you won't have to do that as crazy. Maybe it'll read UDIMs a little bit better.
Sure.
And I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty big one. Yeah.
Totally feel free to hit me up on Instagram or Twitter.
Cool. Nikki, we got just like 1 minute left, so I'll just throw in one last question. Sure. One of the basic questions here is, what size/resolution is the minimum for images you plug into Alchemist?
Oh, I don't think there's a minimum. I try really hard to at least get a 2K image, but there's a bunch of filters in there to like sharpen your images and make them a little bit more renderable. So I would definitely try at least 2048 wide or 2048 tall.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nikki, we really appreciate your time here. We're just about up at the end. I know there's a few more questions that we didn't quite get to, but I know there's a lot going on in both in your schedule. We try to keep our webinars to about an hour. Thank you so much for your help. We look forward to all the work you've been doing, all the great work we've been kind of sneaking in and looking in at your different social media posts. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And also, like, as well, thank you for everybody that came. I cannot believe how many people came. And again, hit me up on social media if you have any more questions.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nikki.
All right. Thank you so much.